Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the Chaps Chat Cats. We are a part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. My name is Jake, and I'm joined for a very special episode this evening by Sambo and Johnny. How are you, chaps?
Good.
Pretty
Sorry,
good.
I think there's a bit of my internet stuff. And I'm good. It's a big pause, and then all the words came through all at once. I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
I'm doing all
Be
good.
fair.
Bit worn out after the weekend, but good.
Yeah?
Let's not
Well,
provide
there's been a lot
context at
going
all.
on.
Let's just leave it at that. Leave
let's
it at
just
that.
leave it at
Let,
that.
let, let people imagine what wild, raucous things John did with his weekend.
Well, if our
Absolutely
normal
wild.
listeners / viewers will know why, but the new ones may not know why, and we'll let them
That's right.
look in the
I
dark.
think you're an absolute scallywag, John.
Absolutely.
Exactly, because the regular listeners already know you have a burgeoning adult film career that you trot around the globe undertaking. So,
Exactly. They don't call me Bazzy
Johnny
Old School for
fucking
no
Love.
reason.
all right, let's dive in. Big episode to come this evening. Hell of a transition. We are tearing the Band-Aid off the gaping wound that is the 57th annual Stonks Extravaganza. That's right. That's what we're diving into. We do the ugly work here. We dive right in to the Stonks floor. I mean, that's where we already are. You can hear from the phones. Things are busy down here in the nerve center of the Chaps Stonks office. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell you in 2024 which cats we're buying, holding, and selling. So all I'll say is, chaps, we have our fingers so close to the pulse that, in the wake of these episodes, generally all of us have to turn the phones to off mode because it's just phone calls from AFL front offices around the league just asking for that data so they know who to target in free agency and that sort of thing next year, or trade moves. It's a massive deal, obviously. So let's jump into it, because after this we're going to go and we're going to dovetails nicely, chaps, almost like we planned these episodes. We're going to go from this behind the Patreon curtain into the back office. What we're going to do is we're going to take everyone out of the Stonks office. We're going to shutter the building. We're going to go out. We're going to go into down the little alleyway to our favorite Asian fusion restaurant, and we're going to unload the extra deets for those who need them. We're going to talk about which cats are in their last year of contract and what we expect to see, whether we get a re-signing, whether we get retirements, whether they just get delisted, all that sort of stuff. So if you want to hear that part of the show, if you want to watch that part of the show, go on over and sign up to the Hoops Crew Patreon for just $5 a month. Free trials starting at the moment. Free weekly trials. So make sure you go and do that. Let's dive in, chaps. We're once again in the Stonks room. Sambo, you're going to get us started, and we're going to start positive. The people want to know, who are we buying? What are we buying? Why are we buying? And you're going to start us off
When are we
with
buying?
a buy. So the floor is
How
yours.
are we buying?
Why are we buying?
Why are we buying? My first cab off the ranks is none other than Mr. Tom Atkins, and that is a hard buy for Tom Atkins. I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer. I feel like both the ones I've chosen as buys are a bit of a no-brainer, but I think they're at that point.
Sorry, Sam. I was just going to say, if people haven't already bought, then they're a bit on the crazy side.
No, but see, it doesn't matter if people have bought or not, because you can buy more. That's the thing with Stonks.
That's true.
As we here know, no one knows the way Stonks work better than we do. All right, and if you've already bought, buy more. If you haven't bought yet, now's a good time to buy, because you're not going to be getting these dirt cheap. Like the league, everyone around the league kind of knows the consistent value and the worth that Tom Atkins brings. But I think we're still yet to see his peak, and I think that's why now is. It's not necessarily now is the perfect time to buy. It's more about now is the last time to buy if you want to see a return on your investment. That you'll be buying them for a little bit more expensive than you would have been paying 3 or 4 years ago. But I think through this next 3 seasons, his value is really going to peak, and it's going to be too late. And so that's why I say buy Tom Atkins. You're going to be shelling out a little bit, but it's going to be worth it because it's probably the last time you're going to get a chance to buy and then just see massive return on that.
So I've got a question here. As we discussed the value of the stock, I'm with you. I think he's a definite buy, and I think you've described like the point in the market at which you're buying in. It's last cab off the rank time. If you don't get in now, sayonara. We're already off to the moon. But I want to know if you what is it? Do you think it's opportunity this year for him on the field in terms of his role increase? Do you think it's just like natural development of his talents? Like, what is it that's got you convinced that it's going to go to the moon?
I think it's both those things, but additionally, I would just add his own confidence and belief and place in the team. Like, I think that's the sort of journey he's been on. Is not one of like really refining skills so much, although that does happen. But I think over the last 2.5 seasons, we've really seen his confidence in himself and where he fits into the squad has really gone up. And I think another preseason of that, a little bit more, some more preseason in the guys around him, Tanner Bruin, those kind of people. Like it's, I think it's going to really help him to perform his role and perform it at a really high level, I guess. Because I think last year was, as we've said in our recap pods about the year, I think it felt a little bit more inconsistent than it was maybe, but it was a little inconsistent. And I think his attitude is what really kind of excites me. I think he's one of those players that he maybe hasn't 100% felt like he'd earned his stripes until that 2022 season. And then last year was just such a schmozzle of a year that he didn't really get to build on it that much. But I think that's what we're about to see now is both, as you said, both the things you mentioned, but also just his ability to get out there and take the game by the scruff of the neck because he knows he's a valuable player. He knows what he adds, and he knows how to better work in with the lads around him.
Love it.
I like it.
I love it. Love it. Love it.
Nicely explained, Sam.
Johnny.
I'm definitely buying.
Buy more.
Oh, I've already bought, but I'm buying more.
Buying another lot.
Yeah.
Just add more. Put more in the wagon.
Just add more.
Johnny, we're over to you now. We want
beautiful
a buy from you. So
right.
who are we beginning with here for you? What are we buying?
Well,
and why?
I've been talking this player up pre-season, bit of last season. I'm really just super excited to see how this guy goes, and that's Oliver Henry. I think you got to buy Ollie Henry now. His stonks may be still a little low, but I tell you what, his stonks are going to shoot up rapidly this year, definitely. Because, well, last year he had a really promising year, 41 goals, really great start to his career at the Cats. But I tell you what, this year, I feel like he's going to be even better. He's gearing up to be the spearhead of this Cats team alongside Shannon Neal. All I see is growth and more growth in this guy, and I'm just super keen to see what he does. And if you haven't bought in stonks in him yet, do it right now, before it's too late. Before it goes too high. I think it's a bit low at the moment, so it's perfect time to buy in. And as the year goes on, it's only going to rise week by week. The more games he plays, it's going to get higher and higher because he's a serious talent, and he's just going to start dominating that forward line, and he's going to start forcing guys out or keeping other players out of his forward line. So get your stonks on Ollie Henry today as soon as you can, before it's too late.
Yeah, no, I really like it, especially just the mix of like if Cameron's back, Hawkeye has played on, someone's going to benefit here. I sort of feel like Jeremy
He's in that.
Cameron's like still.
You go.
I was just like Jeremy Cameron's still in that like absolute spearhead kind of role. So it's like either Hawkins or Henry are going to draw like the second best defender. So I agree. Like I think Ollie's like just in line to get another 40 plus goal season.
He's just that player who's hiding behind Hawkins and Cameron. Because, as you said, Cameron takes one of the best defenders. Hawkins will take the other best defender. And then you've got Ollie Henry, who can do amazing stuff. And he's just waiting in the bushes to strike. Just waiting in there, waiting to come out and take a game by the scruff of the neck. And now I could see him absolutely winning games with the Cats this year. Just taking the lead in the forward line and booting match-winning goals. And I think
How many
he's
goals
capable
for
of-
the season? What's
I'm
your
going to
prediction?
say, I reckon he could kick 60 plus.
Woo!
If everything goes
That would be
according
nice.
to plan. 60 plus at the highest level, like of him going really well. But I think, over 50, definitely over 50.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, that moves it on to me for our final buy before we get into some sells and some holds. And we're going to start, speaking of players I've been hyping up all off season. I'm going to get in with the golden-haired hero of our age, Ollie Dempsey. It's not too late because, surprisingly, a little bit like Ollie Henry, Ollie Dempsey, I noticed, I polled the Twitter feed and said, who would you buy? Who would you hold? Who would you sell? Both the Ollies came back in a few holds. A few people are still a bit unsure. People saying, don't know. Not sure yet. I say,
fools.
buy. Buy on Ollie Henry. Buy on Ollie Dempsey. And Ollie Dempsey, for me, like an even lower buy-in point than what you're getting with Ollie Henry, because not many people, we've seen a handful of appearances for Ollie Dempsey. He hasn't necessarily looked his best. He's shown little flashes in the last two seasons whenever he's got an AFL opportunity. But I've watched the VFL. I've been grinding the tape. I've been over talking to people, in parking garages. I've flown cross country to get the inside edge. Ollie Dempsey, I reckon it's to the moon, chaps. I think this is a player who could transform into a creative player on the wing / half forward. I think there's goal assists in his future and plenty of them. I think he's a sort of player who could give you that sort of like 20 plus goals and a bunch of creativity and an outlet on the wing and half forward. I'm pretty convinced that this is one you want to get on now, because I think this Ollie Dempsey rocket is going to different galaxies. That's my thoughts on Ollie Dempsey.
Don't listen to the people on Twitter who say hold. Definitely buy on Ollie Dempsey. I'm right with you there, Jake.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that there's a bit of versatility that I like about it. You can play up forward, you can play out on the wing. So you get to double dip a bit there. If it's not working out forward, you can throw him back down on the wing. I like him a lot. I think I said on the season preview pod, I've had him jumping ahead of Mitch Nevitt in the pecking order as it stands right now, based on current form and footy. So, let's skew ever so slightly negative. It's all in good fun. But if we're going to tell you what to buy, the reality is there's going to be some sells, because we're going to, after this Stonks exchange discussion, we're going to go and talk about 15 players who are entering the final year of their contract. So it stands to reason that some of those guys might be in our sell list. I'll start us off here. We'll snake. I'll start us off, and I'm going down back. Okay, I'm going to flip from up forward to a player down back, and I'm selling on Jake Collar-Jasny. Now, look, I get it. Collar's long-time player, premiership player, all these things. Seems like a lovable type of dude. We all celebrated when he kicked his first goal, even if after that everything went downhill and we got beaten by GWS. But I just think that he's one of those players whose spot is now starting to be up for grabs as we see new players come in, specifically players like Connor O'Sullivan is one. I think players like Oisin Mullen. I know there's a few people out there who are pretty skeptical about Oisin Mullen, but like Connor O'Sullivan in particular is a able to play tall in the back line. He's still exceptionally mobile and movable. He's not just a lumbering Hulk who's just going to stand and take big intercept marks. Like, I think he can do a lot of those things. And there's youth and there's upside. I think as we get into talking about in the Patreon part of the show, like, we're in a real transition phase. Depending on how this season goes, there's a lot of variance on who's on this list in 2025 and beyond. Like, there's, no lie, there's like 15 players who could be in their last year at the Cattery. And I think there's a few guys on the fringe and on the edges. So I'm going to sell. There was some things I saw in the preseason games, the match sim, that were just consistent with what we saw last year. I think Geelong, I know there's some, big Asava Radaglia fans out there in the Geelong fan base who are maybe sad to see him leave. On the show, we always thought that he kind of muddied the waters down back and interrupted the structure of the back line. And we thought you could see that on show several times last year. Kind of feel like it's possible that Collar is now that player that is just going to do those couple of things every game that just makes you pull your hair out a bit, which is a shame because he does some incredibly brave and creative things as well. But then it just does some absolutely mystifying things too. So I would love to be proven wrong, but Stonks is a serious business. I can't be in it if I don't believe it. So I'm sell on my Jake Collar-Jasny Stonks.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I love Collar, but I think that's a perfectly reasonable reason to sell.
Yeah, I'm there with you. It's a tough one. These sells are not easy. They're tough decisions, but at the same time, we've got to, you got to look at the whole team. And this is what's going to happen. The senior guys are going to be slowly pushed out this side, and you know what? That's the life of a football player. You're going to be replaced by a younger player unless you can step up and play better than what they're playing. And it's on Collar-Jasny to do that. And yeah, I'm there with you. Like, the preseason games that we saw didn't put much. Oh, they didn't put a lot of hope in that he's going to be able to recapture his fine form that of past years.
I'm going to slingshot us to. Or am I slingshotting? No, we're sort of staying in that back line.
We're not snaking.
No, we are going to use. No, we are snaking. Sorry, I've got my order mucked up. Johnny, who are you selling? Who are you selling on?
It was a tough one to pick who to sell, and this one hurts me to say who to sell, and I know it's going to hurt you guys as well. But it's Reece Stanley, and the main fact is there's a young up-and-coming ruckman, Toby Conway, coming in. Reece Stanley in the Essendon game he didn't stand up to the level that we thought he could or thought he would. Yes, it's a preseason game. He may have not put his whole effort in, and hopefully, like you with Collar, hopefully proven wrong round one. But I think his stonks could be sliding a bit. So I think now, especially with Conway coming through the ranks, could be a good time to sell on Stanley. I think, yeah, it's a tough one though, because he could turn it around round one, round two, whatever, and prove us wrong, which would be great. But just from those preseason games, there's just not the definite idea behind that, holding on to Stonks would be the wisest choice at this moment. As much as it hurts to say, because we're all big fans of Reece Stanley. He's one, premiership player alongside Cole. Did fantastic in the 2022. Was absolute fantastic throughout that entire year. So and same thing as Cole is. He's getting into his senior years as an AFL player, and young guys are coming through. I think time to sell on this Stanley, but it could turn around. I think he's one of those players that can turn it around rather quickly. And if Conway's doing really well in the VFL or in the AFL with him, that could really spur him on. So, I think I'm just going to have to say sell.
Yeah, and part of that has to surely have to do with age and health. He played 13 games last year. They managed, to 20 games in 2022, and obviously that was when we saw him be some of his most impactful. In that premiership season, 19 games the year before, 11 before that, 18, 16, 13, 21, 8. So when players are younger, you can sort of get away with some of the health and injury concerns a bit. As players get older, it does become harder and harder to manage, particularly, the bigger, ruck guys like Stanley. So no, as we said, all of this is hard. It's hard to sell, particularly, name brands, premiership players, all that sort of stuff. But look, I'm with you. Definitely would have been on my short list. And as we say, with all these sells, would love nothing more than to be proven wrong. If I lose some Stonks money selling when I should have held on to Stanley, I'll live with it. That's okay. I'll be happy for him. Sambo, round out our sells here. Where are you going for your sell?
I am going still within that back line and on a similar trajectory to what you guys have been saying, and I'm selling sell Mitch Duncan. Now I think he's a big name, and I think it's the reason it's slightly different maybe to the way that you guys have been the way you guys feel about your picks. Mine is more just a case of he's not going to get better. He's not going to explode out this year and suddenly raise his value. I don't see Mitch Duncan falling off a cliff or really being a player to let the side down. I think he'll continue to do Mitch Duncan things, and he's still going to be very popular with the faithful, and that's kind of why I'm at a sort of sell, because I think he's done so much stuff, and if you're being he's been done so much stuff for such a long time, and if you're being a savvy Stonks trader as we here are, I think it's probably again your last chance to sell before you do see a bit of a decline in the value. So I don't necessarily look at him as any kind of weak link or anything. This is more purely practical of, he's still a really valuable part of it, but I don't think he's I think he's just coasting along on that plateau. It's a plateau of greatness, but I don't think he's going to suddenly spike, and you're going to see some incredible return on your value.
Yeah, hard to argue. I think it's hard to argue, and I think that, I don't know about you, Johnny, but I sort of thought that some of the positional change stuff, like with Max Holmes and all that sort of stuff, probably a bit of signal to the idea that Cats are looking for different types of playmaking, like halfback distributors, to come in and change the game. And it probably, there's a bit of signal to it, but it cuts me, but I don't disagree with anything Sam said.
Yeah, no, I feel like Duncan is in that stage of his career where he's there to provide that experience role, where he's there just purely to coach the new guys coming in, like Ollie Dempsey, Max Holmes, Jai Clark, and all that.
Maybe not purely. He can still kick a football if he has to.
He can still kick a football. He can still do that. But I think, it's going to be more of that mentoring role, coach switch type guy on the field, which still has value. But yeah, I think if with these young guys coming through the way they are, he's one of those guys who's on the fringe of being, forced out of his side. And as Cats fans, as Cats podcasters, that's what we want to see. We want to see players forcing out other players into this team. We want the best out of each player. And if senior guys are not providing the best, then that's on them. They're going to be forced out. And, I agree with Sam, but he could be one that could be forced out by these other young guys coming through. And that's a big reality. And I think it's going to be a big really check for all these senior guys that there's young guys who are seriously talented coming through. But yeah, it also cuts me, all these guys. We've seen them from their day one till the last day at the Cats, and you get those attachments to players, and it's a tough time to see them go. But that's related to football.
And like, who knows? Like, I was just looking up. Like, Mitch Duncan's 32. He's 33 this year. So there's players who I know. I mean, this is always a depressing thing once you start talking about
younger than me.
Like,
hang on.
Well,
he's not younger than me.
Shut up, you whippersnapper.
The grizzled old vet. The grizzled old veteran. He's ready to shuffle off to the retirement. It's like 32. It's like, okay, let's good to get this perspective. But like, Zach Tui is 2 years older than him. Tom Hawkins is 3 years older than him. So I agree with you. I'm in the same position that I would be selling. I like, he's also on my list. At the same time, though, nothing would make me happier than if Mitch Duncan turns around and says, "You should have held on to me."
Yeah,
because I still had some good footy. I still had a couple of years of good footy in me because some of the youngsters stepped up, took over some of the burden, and unleashed me to do it. A slightly, different role where there wasn't as much X, Y, or Z, sort of put on my shoulders. So,
I'm with you. Just to fully justify myself here and make sure there's no negativity involved. That's why it's time to sell. Because if there was no chance of that happening, no one would buy.
Sure.
And so it'd be too late to sell.
Yeah.
This is your perfect opportunity to sell because there's all evidence kind of does say that he's still going to be a very valuable contributor, and he is. And so therefore, within the framework of framing it as stonks, not as just who's going to be good and who's going to be bad, then I think it's the perfect time to sell because he's not like, it doesn't look like he's just about to step off a cliff and everybody's not going to be going, whoa. I don't think he looks like he's going to be any good this year.
And I'll just say that all these guys that we've set to sell, I think they've all got the potential to absolutely prove us all wrong and play an absolute outstanding year and go, well, that was silly of us. Each player's got that absolute capability of turning it around and, putting egg on our face.
But as Sambo said, and this is a key thing, it's knowing it's the timing of selling or buying stonks that's important. You have to get out. Well, we've been heavily invested, had a big helping of Mitch Duncan stonks in our portfolio for a long time. Now's the time. We're cashing out. It's great. It's been awesome. It's been a great ride. May still get a couple of good years of Mitch Duncan stonks. But, I'm with you. I'm with your reasoning, Sambo. And there was probably a couple of others. There was a couple of actual a few sales I almost pulled the cord on that I didn't. I cautioned myself to patience. But one of them is in my holds. So we'll get to that. We're going to get to holds right now, and we're snaking. So, Sambo, we're going to you for your hold. I'm fascinated because both you guys had holds that most people aren't holding. They're like, buy. Sambo, we'll go to you first. Who is your first hold or your hold?
Well, my hold is Brian Myers. Fan favorite. Everyone loves him. Great output. And see, this is why. This is my take on stonks, and this is the way I would operate. The very fact that everybody is saying buy is why if you have stonks, hold them. And if you don't have them, I think Brian Myers. The way I would look at it is this: I think Brian Myers will most likely have as good of a year as last year, but I don't personally think we're going to see him have a uniformly across the board superior year to last year. He might change some things. He might kick some more goals for himself, as we've discussed. It looks like he, might try and do, but that's going to take away. He's not going to have as many goal assists. Like, I don't think he's going to pump his stats from all angles. Like, because of how good last year was. Like, I just don't know if he's. And again, like, I might be proven wrong, and it's not in a negative way. I'm not saying that he's as good as he can be. I think his input can be increased across this year compared to last year, but I don't think to the degree where I'm thinking, wow, buy now and you're gonna like double your money. It's kind of like, I think it's too late. I think my personal opinion on Brian Myers is prior to last year is when you should have bought, because you would have been buying them at a time where people were still going like, or maybe even then would be too late. Certainly prior to 2022, but I think across 2021, 2022 was the buy time for Brian Myers, because he was the kind of like, oh, that kicking action's weird, and oh yeah, he kicks 2 goals here and then he disappears for 3 weeks, and he's like, he hadn't found that thing. So if you'd bought it and then for the 2023 season and the way he performed across that season, like his worth and his value just exploded. And so I'm not saying buying is wrong at this point. I just think buying at this point is what everyone's going to be doing. And so I would hold on him, because I don't think you're going to see the return that you're going to see on like your Ollie Dempsey's or Ollie Henry, or even Tom Atkins, I suppose, because I still think that Tom Atkins, I don't think, and it's partly about people's attitudes, people's views, because I don't think Tom Atkins is likewise going to improve out of sight, but I think his value will increase, because I think he's still generally underappreciated in the market.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. Like, I don't think I'm not saying that Myers can't perform at the same level as last year, but it's not getting any better.
Well, I think it could be, like, it could get better, but I don't think it's going to get so much. I don't think it's going to get so much better that it's worth buying, because you're going to because it was already so good. It's like you'll see a couple of cents profit on the dollar sort of thing. Like, because if he was going from terrible to what his ceiling this year, huge. But because he basically reached his ceiling last year and he may push through it, I think he'll probably. My guess is that he's going to have an equal year to last year, if not a little bit better. But he got so much attention last year that I don't think there's any advantage to buying Brian Myers at the moment.
If you bought Stonks on Brian Myers at the end of 2021 or the first few weeks of 2022, you are absolutely Scrooge McDuck swimming in the pool
You're listening
of
to
money
us
right
from
now.
the Bahamas right now.
That's right. All right, Johnny, you've got a hold, and I found this one likewise fascinating. So who was it that you are just sitting tight with what you've got at the moment?
I think I bullshitted really well then. So if you're stuck,
so.
John, just say, "Oh, just what Sam said," but for this guy.
Well, through the whole time you're talking, that's what I was thinking.
Perfect. You were thinking this is some good bullshit.
This is some great BS. Tyson Stengel, I'm holding
Stonks is built on bullshit.
And I
think
it's the same thing. He didn't have a great year last year, but he had a fantastic 2022. So everyone would have bought. And then fantastic preseason game against Essendon, really looking his best. So I reckon a lot of people have maybe bought up or possibly could be thinking about it, but I just think hold on him at the moment and see. I think it could manifest a bit quicker than what Brian Myers might. Like, it could be after round 1, you could see his stocks really rise up, because he looked pretty good in the preseason game, and I'll just say, just hold on him at the moment. Just hold, because I think his last year's preseason also was pretty good, and he still didn't have that fantastic year. So I reckon just hold off him for maybe the first 4 weeks, and see how he's going, and then start buying. But if he has a really dominant first round 1 and 2 where he kicks 4+ goals each game, that's when you buy. But at the moment, hold on him, see how he's going. Don't rush out and get his stonks because he had a not best year last year. 2022 was pretty dominant. But if he plays like he did in preseason round 1, I think that's when you could start buying. But yeah, as we said, it's a preseason game. You don't get the full scope of opposition defense, how the players are actually playing, if they're playing at the full strength and whatnot. But yeah, I'll just say hold on him. Wait till first couple of rounds, see where he's at, and if he does enough round 1, I think that's when after round 1 that's when you buy. But at the moment, just hold off.
And I sort of think too, like if you haven't already filled your portfolio, your Stonks portfolio with some Tyson Stengel, like what have you been doing? Like it's almost a bit like, I can't remember which player we were talking about earlier, where it's like it's almost too late to buy in some ways. The price is high.
Yeah.
So if you've got it, as you're saying, if you've got it, hold it. Hold it for now.
Don't sell it. Just hold it. You'll be laughing.
Exactly. See where it goes. Exactly.
And if you're thinking of buying,
definitely don't
just
freak
hold
and sell.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely don't. And if you think of buying, maybe just hold off for a week or two, as I said. And then if those first 2 weeks are really good by him, that's when you start buy early. Even during the game, round 2. If he's looking really good round 2, you might have to start buying then. Because it could go through the
Half
roof.
time, John's on the phone.
Yeah. Definitely. Halftime at the Australian Grand Prix, I can buy Stonks in Tyson Stengel.
Some stonkles. Tyson Stonkles. Let's move it to me. All right, sorry, I'll just wrap up our holds section with my player. And this was a player, believe it or not, crucify me if you want to. I was very close to getting on that mobile phone and saying, dump all of the Mitch Nevitt stonks. Very close. Very close. I'm holding though. I'm holding because Paul from the Hoops crew is a big Mitch Nevitt fan, and I think we had a good chat about it on the season preview, which you should definitely go and listen to or watch on the Hoops crew 2024 season preview episode. But Paul was saying, his ceiling. We were discussing the benefits of Ollie Dempsey v Mitch Nevitt, and Paul sort of said, "Yeah, no, I would agree. Ollie Dempsey currently ahead of him, but I feel like Mitch Nevitt, if he put it all together, has a higher ceiling." And I believe that I agree. But I've been on the Mitch Nevitt thing for a few years, pretty much since he was drafted, and so I started to get a bit of cold feet. Last year, I wasn't exactly sure why he was dropped after he played a pretty good game at the Dogs. Went back to the VFL, had a few really good weeks, probably faded a bit. Really didn't like the match sim or the preseason stuff. I sort of felt like, for a 3rd or 4th year player, whatever he is, like I wanted him to stand out and take it by the scruff of the neck. And so I was nearly impulsive, but I'm going to hold. I'm going to hold on Mitch Nevitt. There's so much talent and value there. I've already got a big amount of Mitch Nevitt. So I feel like there's not much point me selling right now because I don't think I'm going to, get any big returns. The value for me hasn't increased that much since I first bought in on Mitch Nevitt on the ground floor. So I feel like it's a low risk to hold here. Let's hold and see what happens. You just never know. And the example I would turn to, because I've heard a lot of people saying, he doesn't quite have the body for it yet, blah, blah, blah. We were saying the same shit about Zach Guthrie at the end of 2021. 2021, it was Zach Guthrie's not strong enough. Zach Guthrie's not big enough. He doesn't look confident enough. He'll never do it. Like last week when we were doing our 2024 season preview, I just had Zach Guthrie as an outside chance to make All-Australian. So let's just hold on Mitch Nevitt. We don't have to freak out. Let's just hold, be calm, and see what develops. for the young potential star in 2024. That's my thoughts on Mitch Nevitt.
Love it.
Love
All
it.
right.
Yeah, can't argue.
Let us then move into our final round of buys. I shall start us off here. Just got to find where I'm at. I'm going to start us off with my second and final buy of the evening. Buy Sean Manor. Buy Sean Manor. I love the fact that Sean Manor didn't get a heap of minutes in the preseason, because I still feel like there might be some people out there going, oh, I don't know, man. We didn't see him much, but we got a little taste. We got that great crumbing goal in the final quarter against Essendon. Buy up, especially because, as you said before the show, out over Gary Rowan, I kind of feel like Sean Manor could be a player that slots into the team while Gary Rowan is dealing with injury this year. I sort of feel like, he can be that player who can rack up a bunch of tackles, maybe inside your forward 50, who can kick set shot goals. He leads nicely, but can also kick goals from open play. So I think buy on Sean Manor, the former Werribee Tiger. I think it's I still think you can get it at a low price. I don't think everyone's in just yet. So while he's still relatively off the radar, get in there and do it. And I almost think he's going to play a different role maybe to what we thought when he first came in. It was like, an on-ball midfielder who can drift forward. I think he's going to spend much more of his time at the Cats up forward. That would be my guess. And he more just pinch hits maybe around stoppages, maybe inside the forward 50, or if they need someone just to give a different look around the ground. But yeah, buy on Sean Manor.
Nice.
Perfect.
All right.
Love it.
I've seen very little of this preseason stuff, so I'm still so in the dark about Manor, so it's a bit of an exciting commodity.
Right there with Jake on the buy Manor. Definitely.
Yep. All right. Let's snake.
Hey.
Johnny, it's your final buy of the evening. And
This one is an obvious one, and I think one that people will be going, why didn't I buy earlier? And that is Jai Clark. Definitely buy in Jai Clark right this moment as soon as you can, because what we're seeing from the preseason is he's becoming that player that everyone thought he would become. It may not be throughout the first few rounds of this season, but at some point throughout this season, he's going to burst onto the scene and he's going to be a really dominant player for the Cats, and people will start going up. Yes, we can see why people are comparing him to Joel Selwood. As much as it's a bit silly to compare him to Joel Selwood, it's a bit too much pressure on him, but those preseason games, just go, oh yeah, there's something else about this kid. There's something special about him. And yeah, buy before it's too late, because it could happen really quick that his stonks go sky high. And I think with the injury last year, in his first game, dropped his stonks a fair bit. I think his stonks have just risen a little bit higher. But I think right now is the perfect time to buy him, and buy big. He's going to be something special.
I agree. And I almost imagine, Johnny, there's some people maybe who have cold feet after the fact we didn't really get to see him much last year. So they might have, impulsive buyers might have shed what they bought initially. You can just pick that up. Now, surely only fools have done that, but
yeah. It's those people that, it's how sometimes you think your feet are cold, but they're actually just really hot and warm. That's what people may have got confused by, going, your feet are a bit cold in this guy. No, your feet are hot because he's rising up. So get on him.
Back
Get
on the
on before
street.
it's too late.
Took his
You're
time.
wrong.
Took his chances.
Get on before his stonks are out of just a bit too high.
All right. No, I agree. I agree. Bye. Buy some Jai Clark. Bye on Jai. Because I think he showed some signs over the preseason already where he looked pretty damn special. That moves us to Sambo, doesn't it? We're on to your last one. The last one.
I
Absolute
don't know.
pros. We've got it in under 50 minutes.
We're not done yet.
So
We're not done yet.
let's do it.
All right.
No. Got one more. Oh, no. Just this part of the show. This was the aim. Let's get it done here, Sambo. Who are you putting on the table as your last buy?
My last buy is a bit of a no-brainer, I suppose. But I think a little bit like John. It's kind of like with Jai Clark. I think that he maybe burst onto the scene. Everyone loves him, but he hasn't really fully had a chance to like capitalize on that. But I think he's about to, and that is Max Holmes. So I think got a lot of love around the club. I don't reckon there's a lot of people that don't have some stonks in in Holmes at this point. But I think it's just been an interesting trajectory, you know, after the injury and whatnot. You know, looked like he was kind of really on a bit of form. And then last year, I think he had a perfectly good year, but he never quite cracked it. So I just don't think he's peaked yet. I think it's still plenty of time to buy on him because I think as good as he is and as valuable as he is at the moment across the next season or two, I think he's just going to absolutely skyrocket. And again, you know, to allude to the Patreon exclusive part, there's contract talk and whatnot, and that can also really affect the stonks of a player. So there might be people that are a bit of trepidation if he's not signed on. But you'll just have to subscribe to the Patreon and come over to see what we think about the likelihood of Max Holmes signing on and whether it's worth buying these stonks that I'm recommending you buy. But yeah, look, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that I think he's valuable. I think everyone's well and truly aware, but I think that the degree to which he is going to be valuable is still not yet fully appreciated.
Totally agree. I think we had him in the season preview that we did with the four of us the other night. Well, I think we had Max Holmes as a potential All-Australian candidate, I think, for the Cats. And yeah, I reckon the position change is going to be great for him. I think people forget how young he still is, Max Holmes. Like, I was just trying to do a quick Google search and see. I feel like he's 21. He's only turning 22 this year. There's still so much room to grow. I think we've seen the upside he's got to offer in his new position during the preseason game. So, I mean, what he had was it over 500 meters gained or something by half time in the game against the Bombers. He was absolutely launching attacks from all over the field. So I'm fully with you. Bye on Maxi Boy. So that is it. That is the 57th annual Stonks Extravaganza in the bag. Can't believe we've done 57 of those already, chaps.
Feels like no more than 54.
Go by so quick. Exactly.
Has gone quick.
Thanks so much for everyone for jumping in. Appreciate it. Whoa, the view just changed.
Jesus Christ.
What is happening? So thank you so much for jumping in. I'm just going to leave it like this. Thanks so much for jumping in, watching. Make sure you are subscribed. If you're listening on if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you follow along. Give us a 5-star rating. All of that good stuff. We really appreciate it. If you want the extra extended content, the early access episodes, the bonus things, go and subscribe on the Hoops Crew Patreon channel. Membership starting as low as $5 Australian per month, with 7-day free trials currently available. Make sure you keep it locked here on the Hoops Crew Media Network, because there's plenty more coming your way this week. Tomorrow we've got Behind the Play, more interviews from the one and only Paul James. We've got Rach Danderfield. Don't forget your tips coming on Wednesday. I believe Ben and I are going to record a little news show on Wednesday morning, reacting to any of the headlines from over the weekend and last few days on Cat's website, etc. Thursday, we'll be back for our match preview, the first one of the year, Cats v Saints. So there is oodles of stuff coming your way. Make sure you've got it all locked on. The Hoops Crew. And until next time, go Cats!
Go Cats!
Go Cats!